It's really an honor. I'm so delighted to be in the company of my esteemed fellow honorees. It's great. And I particularly want to thank my gallery, Gagosian, and its two emissaries, Putri Tan and Joshua Chang, who I begged not to drive all the way up here, but they did. I really, really appreciate it. And in the spirit, in that same contrarian spirit, when I spoke to Brian about this evening, he said, these people have been through a long night. Keep it to 6 minutes, maybe 5 if you can possibly do it. And I said, well, I'm not a public speaker, as you can tell. I'm really not. I said, can I read the prologue to my book, because I've never read it, and I just would like to try it out. And he said, nope, you can't do it. It's too late in the evening. Can I do it? Okay, really? Okay. All right, good. So you're my guinea pigs. And I have someone over there who's very graciously agreed to push the scan buttons for me. So this is the cover. And there's a couple more pages here. Yeah, it's coming out. So there's a little, is it an epigram? It's an epigram, not an epigraph. Which one is it? Someone help me. Epigraph. It's from Ray Bradbury, and it says, get your work done. If that doesn't work, shut up and drink your gin. This is a book about how to get shit done, or more particularly, how I got it done, or didn't. And I guess that's a big part of an artist's life, getting other shit done, besides the shit you're supposed to be doing, the art, that is. We should get something straight right off the bat. When I use the word art to refer to the stuff I make, there are quotation marks around it in my mind. Other people most assuredly make art, but I have always hesitated to make that claim for myself. Asked by a stranger what I do, I have always said I am a photographer for more than 50 years. Now I remember to say that I am an artist. For one thing, I don't want to embarrass my highly esteemed gallery. And for another, it saves me from having to decline the well-meaning offers of work photographing weddings or babies. Not that I haven't done those things, and I'm not so proud that I wouldn't do them again if I had to, but explaining the kinds of pictures I take almost always elicits, oh, so you're an artist, in that, why didn't you say so tone of voice. So these days, I'm cutting to the chase. And why not? Being an artist is not such a big deal. When you get right down to it, art is a job, a profession, not unlike being an insurance adjuster or a sportscaster. And it's not all that hard either. The writer Nell Zink once asserted that you could take winos off the sidewalk in front of a drugstore and teach them to be poets in half an hour. And I had a friend who quipped that he could strap his iPhone on his cat and have a series of masterpieces by the end of the day. In a similar vein, Veronica Gang once wrote an Immortal New Yorker piece in which several hostages play lifeboat to pass the time. Whom do you throw off? The nun, the pregnant woman, the majorette, or the artist Helen Frankenthaler? Throw off Frankenthaler, one of them says. What's art anyway? Somebody making some little something. So, like the drowned woman, I am just somebody making some little something. Many different little somethings, a lot of the time. And how many little somethings I have made over a long, long time perhaps qualifies me to write this book. Sometimes the process of being an artist, not the satisfaction of splashing paint on canvas or the shutter clicking at what you know is just the right moment, but the rest of what goes into making art, can be rightfully called shit. Here I flash back to Cy Twombly, my neighbor in Lexington, Virginia, dusting off his hands in relief as the van door was shut on his paintings, destined for some billionaire's collection, quipping, "Glad to get that shit out of here," before heading out to the benches at the nearby Walmart to relax in the sun. This is the good shit. But there's the bad shit too. The rejections, the failures, the cynical strategies of marketing, the perceived necessity for self-promotion, the compromises, the jealousies, the injustices, the dumbass work you thought was good, and of course, the fear. And sometimes, contrary to the layman's image of the louche life of bohemian disorder we are supposed to be living, the practice of art making can be lonely and downright cheerless. It's the rare artist who has an army of assistants, lackeys, cooks, ass-kissers, and lovers, whose indispensable services he rewards by refusing to acknowledge their existence as he gaily carries on in the first-person singular. And yes, those artists do exist, and often with flamboyant public personae. But few of us have such an army, even an army of one, exemplified by Mrs. Tolstoy. The rest of us soldier on alone, navigating into unmapped territory with only our dubiously accurate artistic compass as a guide, in which we place an appalling amount of faith. Indeed, our entire life depends on the accuracy of its frail, quivering needle. While fervently swearing to anyone who would listen for the last 8 years that I'd never write another damn book, I found myself inexplicably jotting down a list of chapter headings with associated imagery in adjoining folders for the book I wasn't going to write. And they went like this. I assume, yeah, thank you. Looking back at it, I think it's still a pretty good start for a book about the creative process. But on the day I sat down and started actually writing the damn book I wasn't going to write, it turned out that what I had to say was about more than just how I made my pictures. It was about all the other things that both buttress the art-making life and hinder it. Like dogs, for instance. Where are dogs on that list? Every artist needs a dog. Every human needs a dog. Rescue a dog right now. But nowhere in the many books I've read about the creative life does anybody talk about the importance of dogs. And I probably won't either, but they're right up there with all the other artists' essentials. Among them, in my case, an abiding devotion to place, to my local, to borrow a concept from the poet William Carlos Williams. My particular place has been Virginia and the South in general, and I've written repeatedly, fulsomely one might say, on the landscape that holds me in its thrall. The collapsing farmhouses, the ruinous outbuildings, the parishless churches, kudzu-claimed telephone poles, long-forgotten cemeteries, and all around us, hillsides and mountains, greenly serene under our cicada-seething summer sky. This is my landscape, beating inside me like a second heart. And its protection has necessitated activism of various kinds, placing our land in conservation easements, renouncing petrochemical interventions, picking up trash along the roads, writing letters to my representatives, and of course, making donations, lots of them. Doesn't sound like an artist's life, does it? Well, it is. Nowadays, it has to be. Years ago, my friend Ted Orland, more on Ted soon, used to sign his books, "Your fellow traveler, Ted," and that phrase was telling. For Ted, and I hope my readers, the important thing was that we are all on the same creative road together, however far apart we are in other ways. But we can be brought together by the how those of us well along in our careers got there, how our lives racked up the miles. It is about more than technique or practice or even, yes, hard work. It is about how you live your life, because the life you lead is your art, and the art you make is your life. My daughter Jessie, a Renaissance woman, if ever there was one, suggests that the life suggestions I am making within this book apply not just to artists, of which she is one, but also to scientists, of which she is also one, and to other travelers along the many disparate and varied career paths. I hope that may prove to be true, although I can write only from my perspective as an artist and a writer. And from that vantage, I know the creative life invariably includes a rich, overflowing, varied, and complicated other life. Not just good ideas, the right equipment, and a Guggenheim to buy you time. Has there ever been a Guggenheim applicant who did not say that what they needed was time and the money to buy that time? Just look at this journal entry from, if you can believe it, 1970. Already worried about not having enough time, and I was 19. All I had was time back then. Lots of future and barely any past. Hardly any history or memories at that green age. Now, for real, I gotta find the time. At my age, close to handing in my dinner pail, all I have are memories and hardly any time. That may not be all bad. It may be that art making requires not only that you be stressed for time, I found that a full-time job helped with that, but also that you be creative in patching up the crappy equipment you found lying by the dumpster, be as thin-skinned as a naked mole rat, and be convinced that the well has run irreversibly dry and that you will never make another good image or write another good sentence. Convinced. Oh, and it never hurts to be impoverished, too. That old parable about the starving artist in the garret, Picasso living in squalor, burning his drawings for heat, Dolly Parton waiting for a sibling to wet the communal bed for a few moments of warmth. There's something to that. I do hope that's gin in the glass. For years, pinned above my desk was a cartoon from The New Yorker in which an old man and a young boy are sitting together in what appears to be a city park. The button-nosed boy, whose endearing overbite telegraphs us to his credulity, is earnestly gazing up at the big-bellied, spat-swearing old coot who imparts this pearl of wisdom. Always exaggerate. It makes life seem more interesting. I'm with the coot on this one. So don't believe everything you read in this book, unless I tell you what I had for lunch 15 minutes ago. And you shouldn't entirely trust the excerpts from my letters because, as the old man advises, in writing to my distant friends, I had to somehow make my life seem more interesting. When we talk about the past, as William Maxwell observed, we lie with every breath we draw. Most of the time, it's not even on purpose. It's just the sanity-imperiling treachery of memory. Like most everybody, my memories are spotty and whimsical, some elements showing up in vivid detail, others receding, like those tapestries in which certain colors fade over the years, leaving others, often wrongly, predominant. And within that tapestry are great lacunae, gaps in my past where the threads fray and disappear. I take comfort in the late critic Peter Sheldall's observation that even my hero Proust had a lousy memory. He points out that there is, quote, no little patch of yellow wall in Vermeer's view of Delft, a memory Proust's character Bergot conjures just before dropping dead of disappointment, or, so he surmised, undercooked potatoes. Proust's memory always appeared to me to be self-sharpening, but perhaps it's as unreliable and mendacious as everyone else's, constantly revised and overwritten. Even letters, which Janet Malcolm claimed to be the fixative of experience, the fossils of feeling, are not always a conduit to unmediated reality. In reading mine, I have occasionally found a gusher full of genuine emotion, usually outrage or regret, or most often self-doubt so deep it masquerades as swaggering bravado. You won't be fooled. You will see through that bluster and level out the spumes of spurious peacockery until you get to the truth, or something very like the truth, as winking, a friend's mother once split-haired to us. To be sure, there's been some drama in my life that even I found unnecessary to enrich with hyperbole, and hilarious coincidences too improbable to be believed in anything but Woolfian fiction, as well as tragedies too profound to even relate. In other words, I have lived a regular life, like the one you are living right now. This book is written by an old woman, primarily for young artists and writers, with the vain and vainglorious hope that some of it will make a difference in the way you organize. Yes, I did say organize, your creative practice, or that it might help you avoid some of the pits into which I fell. And fell deeply, I might add, wasting a lot of time, which in this book I will try to show isn't maybe all that bad. And also making some piss-poor art, which is not all that bad either, as long as you know the difference in the end. The end is where I am now, and I'm studying many of the artistic and life choices I made, scratching my befuddled gray head at why I chose one picture over another, or why a picture I now love got tossed in with the losers, and why on earth I would decide to live in Little Chicken Switch, as Cy called our sleepy little town, instead of a bustling art metropolis. Why writing weekly letters to a friend 3,000 miles away was important. And speaking of miles away, why would I tear myself from my farm, my darkroom, from my 9 dogs, for Christ's sake, to go across the globe to photograph an alien landscape that I knew absolutely nothing about? And what was I thinking wearing rubber dime store flip-flops to New York City? Why does a stubborn woman keep taking the same damn picture 1,000 ways? These are some of the mistakes and decisions and questions I will write about here, the answers to which seem obvious to me now, at the end, or something very like the end. Thank you.